Hey, it's Chris, Cascadia, Landmarks. Spiel winner, worthy of more content, needing more content, doing too much? Let's talk about why this expansion, well, is it what you want? Is it what you need? And are you ever going to stop playing with it once you put it in your base game originally? Is it worth picking up? Let's go. Everything you need to know. So if you're looking at Cascadia, you know you're going to be tile laying, animal matching, pattern building, set collecting, if you will. And you're going to be utilizing the usual goodness that Cascadia brings to you, and you're going to be using the usual tiles, animal tokens, as well as animal asymmetric scoring cards that are going to be going along with this. So what does Cascadia Landmarks actually bring to you? Well, first and foremost, we have to talk about the scoring conditions, right? 5 different types of animals, 3 new ways of scoring each type of animal. Awesome. Love it. Absolutely smashing from that standpoint. Next up, landmarks. We have to talk about landmarks. This is the crux of this expansion in the first place. What you see right here, all you do at the beginning of the game to set this apart from the landmark side of things is you set out the number of landmark cards equal to the number of players, meaning every player can grab one potentially of that kind, which is another bonus way to score. And all this does is that when you create an area of a single tile, for example, of the prairie right here, if I can get 5 of these connecting on the last tile that I placed that would have been part of that terrain, instead of foregoing and placing, say, this hawk, I can then instead grab one of the prairie tokens, put it on said tile that I just placed, and grab one of these 2 additional victory scorings. And that's going to be all you're doing, is the ability to add one of those across the board on each environment tile as you make them. So you can see here just a few examples of what you've got going on. Just straight up victory points based on animals in certain areas, size or arrangement of the grid. But then you also have ones that have to be certain pairs, or even just the number of groupings of that environment in the first place, the less being better. That's it. Those are pretty much different schemes in each of the environments you're going to be having to deal with. That's it. That's the expansion content as a whole. What else is there really, though? You're going to be paying for potentially more so these things over here and a few of these things, because essentially what this expansion adds, though, at the same time, is enough stuff to play this with 5 and 6 people. And that's where it's sort of a mixed blessing curse, right? I think landmarks, the actual landmarks themselves, are amazing. I think that they add just a little bit of something else to give you slightly more variability in this very modular and variable game in the first place, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't overcomplicate it by any means. It's just subbing it out in one way. I think the cards are great, giving you just that many more ways to score each and every single animal that you're playing. And then the real question is, do you want to pay a little bit extra for a 5th and 6th player content that you may or may not use? And if you're like me and you didn't even remember that there were scenarios that you could play through in terms of how well can you actually Cascadia, especially from a solo side of things in the original, well, there's going to be more of that in this expansion rulebook as well. So does that appeal to you at all? Well, like I said, didn't even remember they were there. So is it worth picking up for a slightly higher price point with these sort of 2 mini expansions combined into one? The landmarks with additional scoring options for the animals combined with the 5 to 6 player expansion content. And I'm going to make the argument that, yeah, this isn't going to change your mind. If you didn't like Cascadia, don't get this. It's not going to do anything for you. It's not going to make an okay game great. This gives just a slight degree of difficulty and complexity notch up that makes me feel like I'm keeping track of just one more thing. I didn't find it overwhelming whatsoever. I thought it was a nice, puzzle for my mind to be able to work out with. My wife thought it was a little bit too much. At the same time, I disagree with her. I don't have any qualms in saying if you like this, this isn't going to change your mind either. It's going to give you more of a freaking good thing. The only question that's going to come with this is, as you can see, some of the landmark cards here, sometimes they just come up well, sometimes they just don't come up well. You may get ones that are going to affect, as in the fox and salmon here for everyone that's on a mountain, or the hawks on a river. You just may not have those pop up or opportunity-wise at all, depending on what happens with these. And so that's going to be the biggest make it or break it. You can easily play a game without including or actually having this in the game and not utilizing it once. We have done it already. But you could utilize them and even get 2 or 3 as additional ways to score to set yourself a little bit further apart. All in all, I think it's a great expansion. I love the landmark content. I'm not going to play without this going forward. Now, I'll say they also give you some 5 to 6 player rules to sort of speed things up, essentially give your game a little bit of a boost at the higher player count, because otherwise it can get a little slow going around at that case. But it gives you basically 5 turns to essentially accelerate your play and take an extra little boost there. So does it work from a 5 to 6 player standpoint? Yes. Will I play it at 5 to 6 players? Probably not. I'm still going to play it, capping it at 4 for the most part. I just like the smoothness at 2, 3, and 4 much better. Suits my play style. It's my group's, dynamic in the first place. So from that aspect of things, I have no qualms about saying that this is going to be a keeper, and I'm just going to campaign it. So that's ultimately a theatrics shelf, though. If I only like the landmarks, if I'm never going to play at 5 or 6 people, am I paying a little bit of a premium price to not utilize the full components, and may those components just sit in the expansion box, not getting incorporated compared to the other elements of things? And the only question is going to be, when do I combine it with the base game at this point? So that's it. That's Cascadia Landmarks. That's everything in a nutshell you need to know. That's my thoughts and my opinions on it. Boom, there you go. Let me know. You feel like we're getting more of Cascadia? Stay classy. Have a great day.